Alan Glick, 32 years old, Vietnam veteran, Bronze Star recipient, San Diego real estate developer. In 1974, he signed the paperwork to purchase 4 Las Vegas casinos, the Stardust, the Fremont, the Hacienda, and the Marina, backed by $146 million in Teamsters pension money. He believed he was building a legitimate empire. He had no idea that every dollar, every deal, every signature had been orchestrated by 4 of the most powerful mafia families in America. And when they were done with him, they didn't negotiate his exit. They read him his children's names. Alan Glick's story does not start in a casino. It starts in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, the son of a steelworker, born in 1942. By his 20s, he is already chasing something bigger. Vietnam, 1967. Glick serves as a military police lieutenant, then a captain in special operations. Bronze Star. 3 combat air medals, 2 years in the jungle, then a one-way ticket home. He trades the Army's chaos for San Diego's sunshine, a law degree in his pocket, ambition in his bloodstream. He is 32, no mob ties, no criminal record, just a clean resume, glowing references, and a knack for real estate deals. He works for American Housing Guild, then Saratoga Development Corporation. By 1972, he is using a $2.3 million loan to buy a stake in the Hacienda Hotel and Casino in Las Vegas. The Nevada Gaming Control Board runs the paperwork. They find nothing but a Bronze Star and a spotless background. Glick gets his license. He gets his shot. But the Strip is a different world. Bigger players, bigger risks. Glick wants more. He needs capital, real capital, the kind of money that does not come from banks. April 11th, 1974. Glick sits in a lawyer's office, pen in hand, signing the incorporation papers for Argent Corporation. The name, his own initials, Alan R. Glick Enterprises, Argent. On paper, he is the owner. In reality, he is alone, outmatched, and about to be surrounded by forces he cannot see. The ink dries. The shell company is born. 4 casinos are now within reach, but the money behind the deal is not his. It is coming from somewhere else, somewhere darker. And Glick, for now, is just a man with a dream and a signature, standing at the edge of a trap he cannot see. If you are hooked on stories like this, subscribe to Slick Heist. The FBI's files on what came next make everything before look like small change. The Teamsters. Central States Pension Fund did not just bankroll retirement dreams. It became the lifeblood of Las Vegas's most dangerous ambitions. In 1974, a single vote by the fund's trustees unlocked $62.75 million for Alan Glick. Money that belonged to truck drivers, warehousemen, and factory workers across the Midwest. Overnight, a 32-year-old outsider held the keys to the Stardust, Fremont, Hacienda, and Marina. On the surface, it looked like a leap of faith. Behind the scenes, it was a masterpiece of mob engineering. Frank Balistrieri, Milwaukee's boss, did not work alone. He called in favors from Chicago's Joe Aiuppa, Kansas City's Nick Savella, and Cleveland's John Scalish. 4 cities, 1 alliance. The fund's trustees, faceless men in union offices, rubber-stamped the deal. No serious background checks. No questions about where the money would end up. The pension fund's exposure climbed to $146 million, more than the operating budgets of some small cities, risked on a string of neon-lit casinos and a man with no gaming experience. Approval was not about business sense. It was about leverage. Balistrieri's sons quietly secured a $25,000 option on Argent stock, a silent handshake that kept the doors open. Glick's paperwork sailed through. The Teamsters' own administrators, like Alan Dorfman, moved the money with a phone call. The only collateral was the promise of future profits and the unspoken threat of mob violence if anything went wrong. For the mob, the pension fund was a private bank. For Glick, it meant instant credibility and invisible chains. Every dollar he received was a dollar at risk for thousands of working families. Every signature on a loan document was backed by the muscle of 4 crime families, united for the biggest skim Las Vegas had ever seen. The buying spree starts quietly. One hotel, then another, then 2 more. In 1972, Alan Glick uses a $2.3 million loan to grab a stake in the Hacienda. The paperwork runs through the Nevada Gaming Control Board, stamped and approved. Glick is the name on every deed, but the money flows in from the Teamsters pension fund, and the real stakes are hidden in the fine print. August 1974, Argent Corporation, barely 4 months old, closes on the Stardust and the Fremont by taking over Recreon Corporation. The Teamsters wire $62.75 million into the deal, no questions asked. The Stardust alone is a behemoth. It has 1,500 rooms, 80,000 square feet of gaming floor, and a vault that never sleeps. The Fremont sits at the heart of downtown, just as busy, just as profitable. Together, they make Glick's portfolio look untouchable. May 1975. Argent adds the Marina Hotel, taking a 65% stake in the casino operation. 4 properties, Hacienda, Stardust, Fremont, and Marina, now sit under the Argent banner. On paper, one man holds the keys to a quarter of the Las Vegas Strip's cash flow. The press calls him a wunderkind. The gaming board calls him a rising star. But behind the scenes, every signature, every dollar, and every new asset ties him tighter to forces he cannot control. The Argent name glows on the Strip, but the real owners never show their faces. October 1974. The ink on the casino deals is barely dry when Frank "Lefty" Rosenthal steps inside the Stardust. He isn't listed as a manager. His contract calls him a consultant. But everyone on the floor knows who is in charge. Rosenthal never gambles at his own tables. He doesn't have to. His job is to make sure the real bosses, men with names like Ayupa and Balistrieri, get paid before the state ever sees a dime. Rosenthal's specialty is the counting room. He studies every routine, every shift change, every stack of chips. By November 1974, he has the keys. The mechanics of the skim are simple. Cash is peeled off before it ever hits the books, handed to bagmen who vanish into the night. No receipts, no records. Just pure profit, split 4 ways and shipped out of Nevada by the suitcase. Tony Spilotro arrives that same season. He is not there for the games. Spilotro is Muscle, Chicago's enforcer, the silent threat behind every decision. Dealers whisper his name. Pit bosses do not ask questions. If someone talks, Spilotro hears about it. If someone steals from the skim, they disappear. His presence turns the casino floor into a fortress, the counting room into a vault only the mob can crack. By the end of 1974, the operation runs like clockwork. Rosenthal signs off on every cash drop. Spilotro makes sure nobody steps out of line. The money starts flowing out of the Stardust, the Fremont, the Hacienda, and the Marina, night after night, month after month. On paper, Alan Glick owns it all. In reality, the real owners never set foot in the building. Their power is everywhere, and their fingerprints are nowhere. Every night, the counting rooms came alive after midnight. Floor managers wheeled in carts stacked with bills, slots, craps, blackjack, all of it. No cameras, no ledgers. Just the hum of money machines and the steady hands of men who knew exactly how much to take. The process was mechanical. Cash peeled off the top, bundled before it ever reached the books. Bagmen flown in from Kansas City or Chicago waited in the shadows. They left with envelopes, some fat, some thin, always untraceable. The numbers were staggering. On a slow month, $40,000 disappeared from the Stardust alone. On a good month, $100,000 left the building in a single night. Multiply that by 4 properties, night after night, and the true scale comes into focus. At the peak, the operation moved nearly $2 million in a single month. Over the life of the scam, investigators estimate between $7 million and $15 million vanished, never taxed, never declared. Every dollar split 4 ways: Milwaukee, Chicago, Kansas City, Cleveland. Each family had its own courier, its own code, its own share of the take. This was not a sloppy backroom job. It was an industrial process. Flowcharts mapped out who got what. Bagmen flew in on commercial flights, left before sunrise, and the paper trail ended at the airport curb. Glick's name was on every license, but his signature meant nothing. The real owners never needed to set foot in the building. Their money moved faster than the state could blink. If you want more stories built on secrets and stolen millions, this is what Slick Heist is made for. Subscribe now, because the next FBI file blows this one wide open. The skim was just the beginning. Edward Bucherri's body turned up in May 1975, dumped in a Los Angeles alley. He was a money courier, one of the men who made sure cash moved between Las Vegas and the Midwest. Bucherri's debts were growing, his usefulness fading. His murder was not a warning, it was a message. Loyalty had a shelf life, and the mob kept its own accounts. 6 months later, Tamara Rand was shot 5 times in her San Diego home. Rand, a real estate lender, had pressed for repayment of a $2 million loan she had made to Glick's casino deals. The bullets ended the conversation. Police found no suspects. The mob left no fingerprints, only bodies. The violence did not just stay in the shadows. By 1977, federal regulators started following the money. The Securities and Exchange Commission filed a complaint, accusing Argent and its officers of a $7.5 million fraud, money missing, records forged, investors misled. The language was clinical, but the stakes were life and death. The commission's complaint described a company built on deception, propped up by loans from the Teamsters and private lenders like Rand, whose murder now echoed through every line of the filing. Wiretaps from Operation Strawman captured the mob's confidence. In one conversation, Kansas City underboss Carl DeLuna called Glick genius, a code name that dripped with irony. On tape, DeLuna boasted about $2 million moving through the casinos each month, none of it reported. All of it destined for bosses in Milwaukee, Chicago, Cleveland, and Kansas City. Federal agents built their case, one tape at a time, matching names, numbers, and bodies. The paper trail was stained with blood. Every fraudulent ledger, every missing dollar, pointed back to a world where debts were not settled in courtrooms, but with gunfire and silence. Glick's name was on every contract, but the real power came from men who handled money and murder with equal ease. Carl DeLuna did not bother with subtlety. He flew into San Diego in the summer of 1979, walked up the driveway of Alan Glick's La Jolla home, and let himself in. Glick found him in the living room, flanked by two men. DeLuna did not raise his voice. He pulled out a slip of paper, unfolded it, and started reading. David, age 10, Eric, age 8. Glick's sons, their names, their ages, their school. DeLuna looked up and said the mob was finished with Glick, that he needed to sell now. If Glick did not, his children would be next. No bluster, no threats of broken legs. Just a list and a promise. Glick's hands shook as he listened. He did not argue. He did not ask questions. He got the message. Within weeks, he called his lawyers. The public reason for the sale was financial pressure. The real reason sat in his gut every time he tucked his sons in at night. Trans Sterling Incorporated, a Florida shell company, stepped in as the buyer. The deal closed on December 20th, 1979. 4 casinos, Stardust, Fremont, Hacienda, and Marina, were gone for $110 million. Glick signed the papers and walked away with his life and his sons. The mob kept the skim running under new names, new paperwork, same bosses. Glick's name vanished from the strip, but the Teamsters' money and the mob's reach stayed behind. This is the kind of story that built Slick Heist. If you want the next revelation before it hits the headlines, hit subscribe. The FBI tapes that followed made everything before look like pocket change. October 1983. Federal grand juries hand down indictments against 15 men. Not just foot soldiers, these are bosses. Joe Ayupa and Jackie Cerrone from Chicago. Joey Lombardo, Angelo La Pietra, the names that built the skim now face racketeering charges, wire fraud, and conspiracy. Prosecutors lay out the evidence: wiretaps, ledgers, bagmen's flight records, and Alan Glick himself called to testify under immunity. In the courtroom, Glick is no longer the paper owner. He is the state's star witness. His testimony, methodical and cold, walks the jury through the mechanics of the scam. How cash disappeared, how threats kept him silent, how the Teamsters' millions vanished into the desert air. January 1986. Verdicts come down. Ayupa and Cerrone, guilty. Each sentenced to 28.5 years. Lombardo and La Pietra, 16 years apiece. Other defendants from Kansas City and Cleveland received sentences of 15 and 20 years. The mob's grip on Las Vegas is broken in a courtroom, not a back alley. But the money is gone. Of the $146 million in Teamsters loans, most is never recovered. The Stardust, once the mob's crown jewel, is shuttered, then imploded on March 13, 2007. The skyline changes, but the damage lingers. Alan Glick never faces charges. He lives out his days in San Diego, far from the Strip. In 2023, he dies at 81. The story ends with names on court dockets, prison gates slamming shut, and a city still haunted by the money that built it and the men who thought they owned it. Corporate fronts, pension fund millions, threats behind a velvet curtain. Today, casinos shout legitimate, but organized crime adapts, always a step ahead, always watching for the next mark. Nevada's Gaming Commission tightened controls, yet billions still pass through unseen hands worldwide. In this game, the house changes faces, but the risk remains. Slick Heist brings you the stories they want buried. Subscribe so you're never left in the dark.